Hey y'all, and welcome back to another episode of the Healing Version podcast. It's your host Devo. Hey, we talking forgiveness. Hey, part two, forgiveness. Hey, let's talk forgiveness. What you got in your heart, you gotta give. Hey, let's get it from the start. We forgiving people and moving on. We ain't holding on to no grudges. Hey, I let it go. You let it go. We told us, oh, hey, let's get it. Oh, hey, but not for real, y'all. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for messing with me. So this is part two of Shey and I's conversation surrounding forgiveness. So we just gonna get right into it. If you did not hear last week, I strongly suggest you go back and listen to last week because this episode is just a continuation of where we left off. So, again, if you did not listen to part one of forgiveness, go back and listen to part one. This part, it'll make sense to you, but like I said, it's a continuation of our conversation. So, I hope you guys enjoy part two. There is a final part, so you got to come back next week if you want to hear the last part. All right, y'all. So, I hope y'all enjoy.
So, you talked about how you didn't have the things that you needed growing up and how your life was unstable. And the type of parent that you are now doesn't reflect that. So, it seems like you didn't use that as an excuse on how you it seemed like your experience, from what I've observed, turned you into a great mother who's attentive, who's there, for her children, who makes sure they have the things they need. And it sounds like they are being taught some emotional intelligence as well. So, how are you able to give them something that you weren't given?
Okay, that is a really good question. I'm so glad you asked. But honestly, what has molded me into the parent that I am? I haven't always been this parent. And that's one of those things I'm going to talk about when it comes to like forgiving myself for stuff
Okay.
but just knowing how I felt as a child, being unstable, not knowing like where we gonna lay our head, what like that. I hated it so much. I could never take my kids through that. I could never let them experience how I felt as a child, just not knowing like what we gonna eat. Are we gonna stay in this house for a long time? What school am I going to next? I felt like it really messed me up as a person emotionally, and so I had to fight to get where I am now. I don't want them to have to go through that. So that's what really helps me be able to like be the parent that I am. It's just that experience. Like they don't deserve that. I didn't bring them in this world for them to have to go through the struggle. So whatever I can do to make their life easy, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah. And this is just, from my observation. I was like, man, I've always seen highlights of your life where you put yourself back through school while being a mother to your children. And it seemed like you were definitely trying to give them the life that you didn't have, like taking them on vacations, and just always keeping them involved and included and not separating yourself, as like more of a hierarchy where it's like they're beneath you. It's like
Yeah.
you're like teaching them how to be an equal, but at the same time, like know your place when it's time to be serious. I'm the mother, like those healthy boundaries.
You know
if that makes
something
sense.
else? Also, the way that I am with them is also healing my inner child. The me being able to afford to take them to Disney World, go to Great Wolf Lodge. Like I didn't get to do any of those things, and I probably enjoy it more than them. So it's really helping me like heal that inner child. Because she comes out, she'll come out, especially when it comes to like communicating. She comes out.
That's
Like
awesome.
I'll shut down, and so being able to like have fun with them and do those kitty things. Like, I'll be looking forward to that. So, like, y'all want to do that? Do y'all want to do this? I'm like, well, I'm Like, we doing it because I want to do it. We're going to go to the bounce house. We want to see this kiddie movie. So it's
That's
also
awesome.
helping me while making sure they have great experiences. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
really wonderful.
Okay, so now I want to do a little digging. It just go a little deeper into the conversation surrounding forgiveness and like how forgiveness have affected us directly. So one of the first questions I have is, in what ways have you not forgiven yourself and why?
Oh, that is a that's not a one answer response, but I would say one of the ways that I've acknowledged that I haven't forgiven myself is that I keep living parts of my life and certain decisions that I've made in regret. Just regretting things that I could have avoided or I felt that I could have avoided. And not listening to myself, the intuition. And because, oh, I just want to help, I just want to do this, I just want to do that. And then it comes back to bite me later on because who I thought I should be able to help somehow betrayed me, you know.
Just with that, and not to cut you off, just as long as you don't lose that, because there's some people out there that need you, that will really appreciate you as a person. We just got to know who to be that person to. And when a person show you one time, well, that's it, it's a wrap. And I think the people who are giving and loving and just love serving people, it's really hard for us to break away from people no matter how dirty they do us. We
Yeah.
just still want to be there for them.
Yeah.
But once we start healing and we create those boundaries, it's so easy to walk away from people. Like, I never knew how easy, like, my cutoff game is amazing. It's amazing. I'm certified in cutting motherfuckers off.
That is so funny.
For real.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely one of the ways that, I've observed not forgiving myself because that regret shows up. And I'm like, if I would have just, because sometimes the handwriting is on the wall, but then being optimistic can get you in trouble too because you want to see the best in that person, especially if
Benefit
you
of the doubt.
Yeah.
Giving people the
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. I've been teaching myself to no longer do that and to make people work on earning my trust instead of me just giving them my trust. So that's one of the ways that I have not forgiven myself that I'm working on that healing aspect of.
So I feel like for me, one of the ways that I feel like I have not forgiven myself is, I guess, being a young mother, because I started having children young. My oldest, I had him when I was 18. I was still in high school. And so I don't feel like I was the best mother to them. So I'm playing catch up now with the teenagers. The twins, not so much. I had them in my early 30s. I was a much wiser mother at that time. But with the older three, I was such a young mom. By the time I was 22, I had 3 kids. So
okay.
I'm basically growing up with them. And a lot of decisions I made, a lot of the ways I snapped out on them, like those, like I still, like, I'm like, why did I do that? Like, why did I say that? Like, I still, like, if I would have waited longer and I would have been wiser, would they had turned out differently? But that's not to say they're bad kids or anything. Like, they're awesome children. They just stay in their rooms all day. They're awesome kids. Like, they not out in the streets, and I thank God for that. Like, they don't be out stealing cars, and like it could be so much worse with me being a younger mom. But I just feel like emotionally I wasn't there for them. Like, we did all the fun stuff, we went on all the vacations, but I just wasn't the emotional mother I wanted to be, and that goes back to my childhood. We're gonna talk about the why. I didn't get that emotion, like that nurturing, loving. Like I didn't get that as a. It was more so being raised in survival mode. So I didn't know how to be emotionally available for
Stable.
my
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understand. Give yourself grace. I think that that's where we come in to serve one another in saying, hey, give yourself some grace. What happened, happened. And sometimes it's not how you begin, but it's how you finish. And so, just as you are going out throughout life with them, you took them along for the journey. So, they are better because of that, and that's what you have to look at. They saw how you were to who you are now. And so, I don't think they are holding you to the standard that you're holding yourself at. So, you're carrying that weight in your heart because you feel like, man, I could have did this better. But if you knew, you would have.
Right. That's a
So,
fact. That's a fact.
so
Yeah.
give yourself some grace.
I will remember that. I'm gonna write that down right now. Give grace
Give yourself
to
some.
self.
Yeah, we have to. And I have to take my own advice when I'm sitting here thinking about if I would have just did this and not did that when I knew to do it.
Right.
You
I think it's
know.
just easier to like pour into other people.
It is.
Like, cause I feel like we're so used to doing it. It's like natural for us to pour into other people, and then when it's time for like us, like we need people like each other to like pour into, because like I can't fill you up with an empty cup, but people keep coming back to your empty cup. They don't care because
They
what I
don't.
say all the time, takers
don't.
don't have a limit.
They do
as
not.
long as you have, I don't care if it's crumbs, if it's drip drops out the bottom of the cup, a taker don't have a limit. They want every drip drop, every crumb.
They'll take the empty cup.
They'll
They'll
take your empty cup. That's a fact. Like, give this cup. Now you ain't even got no cup. Like,
right.
Yeah. So,
Oh my goodness.
whew, yeah.
So yeah. Okay. What role does self-forgiveness play in the process of forgiveness?
Whew. I feel like a huge role, because I feel like if you don't forgive yourself, you can't forgive other people. Like if you haven't learned to forgive you, how can you even begin to forgive somebody else? Like you may think it, you may think like out of sight, out of mind, like maybe that person came around, so yeah. But I
Yeah.
feel like until you truly like sit down and start like forgiving yourself, because I think that's just something I still struggle with now. Like I'm still like even what I just talked about with my kids, feeling bad about not being there emotionally, and then like I haven't quite forgiven myself. I'm learning to, like, even being transparent and coming out and just saying this stuff out of my mouth, it's actually helping me to heal.
Yeah.
Because now I got to hold myself accountable for what I'm telling other people. So yeah, I definitely think that you got to forgive yourself before you can forgive other people. You just gotta.
And I completely agree, and that's what I am learning to live by is forgiving myself first. And that's where the journey began for me in forgiving particular peoples that I felt like I wasn't going to make it through what I was going through. It was worse than the death of my mother.
That's deep.
And these are the people that you're connected to by way of a parent. So that level of hurt and betrayal and backstabbing, sometimes, it's like, how am I going to make it through this? Especially when you've been nothing but good to these people.
Let me tell you something. That's a whole nother episode. That's a whole nother episode. I'm telling you.
I'm fighting back the tears right now.
And that trying to be like cordial with somebody that is a sibling, but at the same time not trusting them because they betrayed you in a way, And once you get to your breaking point, you're like, I don't even want to be around you no more, because if you do it again, I might hurt you. So let me just stay away from you, because you don't even appreciate me. Like, nigga, I done gave you the shirt off my back. Like, literally have looked out for you in ways that most people wouldn't even care to even talk about with you. And for you to, like, betray me, oh man, yeah, that's a whole nother episode.
Yeah, it is.
Woo,
So,
child.
but the process to forgiving them started with me forgiving myself, because sometimes you can love them past a point where you are ignorant. Speaking for myself, I love them past the point where I was ignorant to put myself in the situation, so I had to take accountability for myself, knowing what those possibilities were, because I've already been through it. So that's all on me, you
Yep.
know. And so while going through what I went through, sometimes we forget that we point the finger so much at the person that betrayed us that we don't look at ourselves, and we omit ourselves out of the equation of how we got to where we're at.
Victim mentality.
Yeah,
Gotta get out of it.
got to get out of that. Absolutely. So that was a journey for me. And what's crazy is knowing is half the battle. The application of what you know is where the work really is.
Come on now.
You know, so I had to I knew the cause and effect of what unforgiveness is and what it does. But that knowledge wasn't helping me get to reaching the point where I forgive them or I forgive the person. I had to forgive me first. And then put those healthy boundaries up and put, you know, things in perspective of what I allowed. I allowed it.
Yep.
So I'm gonna take accountability for what I did, and then I'm done with you.
Yep, because you can only be a victim for so long.
Yeah.
Like, you can, like, blaming that person for what you allowed. Like, you allowed it.
Yeah.
So at what point do you pull your energy back and say, hey, you don't deserve it?
Taking back that power.
I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
We share the same blood. We don't share the same blood. You's a lover. I don't care. I'm taking my energy. I'm taking my power back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, we gonna
Pour back into yourself and
pour back
heal.
into, yes.
And like and you know, we got to learn how to give ourselves to what we give other people, because sometimes, you know, I'm going to say how I was raised plays a part in serving others before I serve myself. So then that verse that you hear often, love thy neighbor as thyself, how can I love you more than me, than I love myself? I can't
you know
pour
what?
that.
I was just gonna ask you that. And so I'm so sorry for cutting you off, but do
No,
you
you-
think that's backwards to serve other people before you serve yourself? Like, do you think we
Absolutely.
were great? Because the church teach that a lot.
Yeah.
I feel like, how can you even pour into or serve other people if you yourself is not good?
Exactly.
Like, that is such a toxic thought process. It's
Oxymoronic.
very, like,
It's very oxymoronic.
like the only time that makes sense is when I cook and I serve all the kids their food before I eat. But I can't even pour into or be a great mother to them if I'm not together mentally. So I have to take my self-care days and go to the nail shop and go eat by myself and sit in the car and listen to some music by myself to get my mind right. And then I can go in the house and deal with the madness. Because if I just go in there while I'm feeling like trash, I'm going to go in there mad and cursing. And
This is why that village is so important, because
Yes.
you just kind of acknowledge when you just say what you said, that I have to get myself together before I go into the house to deal with all of that. Well, the other balance of what's needed is not there, so it all falls on your shoulder.
Yep.
And so when you don't get a chance to pull away, and because you have someone that's there already kind of filling in, where you could just be like, okay, I don't have to rush in and do anything. Let me breathe. Let me, you know, kind of go within. Let me meditate. Let me pray, this, that, and the other, before you start being pulled on.
Yeah.
So yes, you do have to take care of self first, and then you kind of like have the perfect example of that if you've ever flown on a plane, where they tell you to put your mask on first before you put the other person's mask on.
I thought of the last time I was on an
Yeah.
airplane, I thought about that. I was like, and I said it like, I mumbled it to myself because I was flying by myself, and I was like, that makes so much sense. Like, how are you going to help somebody else and you can't breathe?
Right.
How are you? They say even the kids, make sure you good before you even try to help the kids. Like,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
I think a lot of people don't know that kids can go without oxygen longer than an adult and be okay. An adult has a way shorter time to be without oxygen. Like a kid, I don't remember the times, the minutes or whatever, but they're gonna be all right. Put your mask on, then help the kid out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is a great life lesson.
Yeah.
It definitely is.
Yeah. So you have
Yeah.
to help yourself before you can help anyone else. And then this also goes back to charity begins at home. And that's what they say, but then the action behind it is that you see charity being poured outside of the home, and what's left, whatever crumbs is left on the table, that's what home gets. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
If we're talking about it from the perspective of how or what we've seen going on in church,
Yes.
which I try to kind of, that's always a touchy topic
Really
for
is,
a lot of
and
people.
I don't like
but
to have a conversation with a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I definitely, because if you think about it, the church has done the same thing the government has done. How the government will give the woman Section 8, he gonna give her food stamps, he gonna give her all these things, Medicare for the kids, but she better not have that man in the house. The church has separated the man and the woman. I feel like there is some accountability that has to be taken in that, of course, like anything else, but like I feel like the women are more so preached to and catered to, and the man is pushed to the wayside unless he has a role and he's serving some type of way in the church. Then maybe he'll be put on a pedestal and he'll be encouraged to be in his household. But when I was in the church, I seen so many marriages break up, and the woman stayed at the church and the man was gone from the church and the house. That is not that ain't no coinky dink. And how do you have marriage counseling and you got this many broken marriages? But anyway,
Yeah, that's another story for another day too.
Hey, look.
But and then we kind of, for those that grew up in a situation where they saw things happening more outside to others than within, the negligence that the child may suffer because that the resources wasn't put back into the home.
Why do you think that is? Like, why would you pour more on the outside than you do in your own foundation?
It's kind of like a facade, I believe, like even trying to keep up with the Jones. Like, I need to, now one thing what black folks gonna do, I don't know can I say that?
Yeah.
One thing, that was me laughing, I'm sorry. One thing black folks gonna do is they gonna look good. They gonna dress to impress, and they might just have noodles in the cupboard. So it's always, I need to look the part. Okay, listen, I'm gonna make sure home is taken care of. We gonna switch up the shirt with the jeans or the slacks or something. We can't keep going out buying clothes and putting money in someone else's pocket, getting them rich. See, it's the priorities. The priorities are so backwards, so messed up.
Rude.
Yeah.
Out of order.
So if I'm clean and presentable, you gonna be okay. If you don't like what I'm wearing and you think I can look better, then you buy it for me.
You supply what I need to look how you want me to look.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
It's that simple.
Plain and simple.
But I'm not gonna play catch up with you people and try to, look like something that I can't afford. Like, I'm done with that. There's a time and place for that. And then what are we teaching those that's looking up to us also? It's okay. I'm not saying that you shouldn't look nice. You shouldn't feel good about how you look, but the priorities got to be in place when there's little ones. Yeah.
At your wage, you
Yeah.
know what you can afford and what you can't afford.
Yeah.
Like,
Especially when there's children involved. And if you are spending your money on what can wait later on, you got to go and ask other people to replenish what you spent. That's irresponsible.
that's irresponsible
So I
as
believe that that's where that
hell.
comes from. It's trying to keep up with the Jones and look like what, and that's not even being true to yourself when you do that.
And my home is my happy place. So I need that to be on point, because when I come from out of the world, from dealing with all these crazy people and everything that's going on, I need to come home and it needs to be a place of peace. So if you're not, if I don't take care of that, then it's not going to be a place of peace, and I'm going to dread going home. I can't dread going home. That's
Right.
that's
Right.
home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah,
That's
it
a
is.
whole nother conversation. But so do you feel like when you forgive someone that you have to reconcile and be cool with them again?
Not anymore. Not when you really, so my answer is no. I don't. Now the way that I was raised by way of what religion teaches, I thought I did.
Turn the other cheek.
Which, and forgive 99 times 99, if that's what it say. One of them little 99 numbers about forgiveness. But you get what I'm trying to say. It's basically
Yeah.
saying forgive them as often as you need to. True forgiveness means that you're not going to do the thing that caused the offense, which created the unforgiveness to begin with. So forgiving someone and not having to reconcile with them, or feeling like I continue need to be in that space with them, I may be growing where they're not. So that's why my answer is no. They may not be there, and I don't want to force them and push my will and my growth on them if that's not where they're at.
No, I agree. I completely agree. I'm the same way. Like, I can forgive you. That don't mean we gotta be buddy. We can be cordial when I see you. Hey, you know, what's up? We ain't even gotta hold a conversation.
Right.
I forgive you, and I'm not gonna allow you, whatever you did, I ain't gonna allow you to do it again.
Right.
We good.
Exactly.
We good. I done forgave you. And whether or not you take it or not, or whatever, that's up to you. It's just like I feel like forgiveness is more so for you than it is for the other person. Like, it's more so like a peace of mind for you. Like, okay, I forgave you. I'm moving on. We moving past it. We ain't gotta be cool. I see you when I see you, and it is what it is.
You know, as you were just speaking on forgiveness is for you, it really truly is, because that heart has to be light. And when we are in a place where we do not forgive, that is a very heavy weight to carry.
Heavy.
It's very heavy in the spirit.
Yeah.
The
You got somebody
mind.
living rent free in your head, basically. Like, that'll keep you up at night.
Yeah.
I feel like it can make you sick.
I'm glad you touched on that.
I feel like it can really
can
make you sick.
It really can.
That's why I say it's more for you than it is the person. Like, they may not ever change. They may go to their grave being that same selfish, ornery, unforgiving, no accountability, don't know how to communicate, lack of boundaries, whether they have them or they can't respect somebody else's boundaries. They may go to their death being that same person. That's on them. That's on them. It's up to you to walk in your forgiveness. Like, I forgive you, but I ain't got to deal with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So can forgiveness be earned, or is it something freely given?
I'm going to say freely given. And that's just based off what we just talked about reconciling. Because when we depend on people in order to forgive them, we may not ever forgive them, because as well as I know, some people not going to change their ways. So if you if you have to let somebody earn it, first of all, that means you have to allow them to be in your energy. You have to allow them to be in your space. You have to allow them the opportunity to be forgiven. So, no, I'm going to freely forgive you. It's going to be freely given without you knowing.
Right,
You may not
right.
even know. The only way you'll know is that I'm speaking to you again, because the way that I was before, like when I had before I start forgiving people, you better not look my way. What are you looking at? Like, like, don't look my way. Don't speak to me, because you know you wrong. You know you did me wrong, and I'm good on you. But yeah, so we gonna we gonna forgive freely.
I, you know, I noticed just through observation and just in my own actions at one point in time in my life when I had a very, we'll say, abrasive response to things, whether if it was kind of like externally said. I'm really realizing that at the root of all of that, how we respond, is really out of hurt. It is, and then our guard is up and we're protecting ourselves. So
Yes.
we look aggressive. They, in the stereotype that black women have as a stigma is that we're bitter and we're aggressive. I hate that. I hate that that is how that narrative is constantly being created and recreated, is that we're bitter and that we're aggressive. That's not fair, because no one knows everything that we have endured
Man.
and the stuff that's passed down
Yeah.
and what hasn't been spoken. Can we even talk about it? And I'm just saying, like, it goes back to our ancestors, what the women have endured, and then you want to just label us. It's almost like you're just dismissing our entire existence and we're only good for what service you get out of us. That's what it feels like.
Well,
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
Okay.
And that makes me think about the medical field. You know how many black women die giving birth, or black women that die in the custody of the hospital, period, because they feel like that we're so strong that we don't feel pain. So they don't cater to us as they would a white woman, because they like, oh yeah, you saying you in pain, but you will be all right. I've seen relatives in labor not given like the proper medication doses, because I just feel like they feel like we lying or something, like like, oh, you a strong black woman, you can do this. Nigga, if I'm asking you for medicine, give me medicine. If I don't need it, then that's my choice. But if I need it, like, provide it to me. So I feel like we have such strong personalities too. So we come off as angry, and because I have a strong personality and I'm serious about what I'm saying, I'm passionate about it, doesn't mean that you get to call me angry.
Right.
But if you have a white lady that responds the same way, oh baby, y'all gonna be where's her
It's
hero?
dismissed.
Somebody
Yeah.
gonna wanna save her. Oh, they feel sorry for her. Oh my goodness, she
Yeah.
has tears.
Yeah.
But we don't get that same type of
Acknowledgement.
Yeah.
And pain is pain at the end of the day. Pain is pain. If they stick themselves with a pen, they're gonna feel that pain the same way you felt that prick, pain, whatever they want to call it, is still felt. And if you can feel it, I can feel it. So why are we diminished down to nothing when there is pain, whether if it's physical, whether if it's emotional, whether if it's mental? Women, we've had to survive on a level that others haven't. And they're not looking at that. No one looks at that, how we've had to survive. Okay? So you gotta be strong to survive how we've had to survive.
Either that or the complete opposite, when you're just a trash individual that's just not surviving, and you're just out here living and just being ratchet.
Okay.
It is that, like, because all of us ain't out here strong surviving.
Yeah.
So, but We won't get into that.
Oh.
I hope whoever you are that's
Oh,
being ratchet, I hope that you be a strong black woman one day. No
that is
shade.
too
No shade.
funny. So yeah, I just thought that was a good point to speak to because how we are viewed, it really, really hurts. And then if you think she's too masculine, why? Ask the question why instead of just always judging why. There's a
That,
reason behind it.
you know what? I'm gonna touch on this when I do my series surrounding dating while healing, because I feel like a lot of men are scared of me because I have such a masculine personality. But and when you think about it, I'm a single mom, have been for a long time. I've not had a man to come in to take me out of my masculinity. They haven't allowed me to live in my femininity. They haven't allowed me to be in my soft girl era.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I have to. I'm not a man. I don't want to be a man.
Right.
However, I still have to have that strong personality when it comes to some things under my roof because I am both parents. And
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
not really, but I just like the things that dad is not there to do. I got to do it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hey, and I
Yeah.
feel like that a lot of that comes from just childhood too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
definitely needs to be touched on, later on down the line because again, it's all centered around emotions, right? And so when things are just not acknowledged, we can't linger in the feeling of it. We have to just step into the role of it and do it. You know what I mean? Just like with the situation where you're like, okay, so men may be afraid of me because I have to do these roles where they're not, where it's not filled. So instead of judging me for it, be more understanding, be compassionate.
Right.
I think it's so easy to be in a place of harmony than disharmony.
But it's a mindset thing.
It
People
is.
have to really like want to be in that. Like you have to really want to be in
Yeah.
it because I mean you got to think about how long it took you to get to where you are today, how stubborn you were before you got here. Like somebody's still in that frame of mind.
That's
So
true. Yeah.
you know it's easier said now because we're living it. It's like okay, like I can reconcile. I got emotional intelligence. We are these things now, so it's easier to say. But it's somebody who is where we were.
Yeah.
So it's like, we can only hope for the best.
Guess what? We learned on our own. We took the initiative
Yes.
to get to where we are. We didn't learn by someone coming up saying, "Hey, let me help you get to a place where I see you're hurting and to heal out of that." We had to take that initiative and be a good parent, be a parent that we didn't have, right? And we had to teach ourselves some emotional intelligence. We had to teach ourselves how to communicate well with understanding. We have to learn how to not just listen to one side of the story.
Right.
You know what I mean? So all
I
these
think
things.
it's a process that people have to you have to go through it. You have to learn it on your own. It's not something that can be taught.
That's
Because
right.
if you teach people, then they can only go based off of your experience. They won't have their own experience. The only thing that can really mold you and really root you into wanting to heal and to be a better person is when you have your own experiences and you go through things that just tear you down to the point where you like, it got to be a better way.
Okay.
Like, what am I doing wrong? You have
Right.
to start looking internally and figure out what am I doing wrong because I can't keep blaming other people. So what am I doing wrong and what can I do better? Once people get to that point and once you can say that and act and actually look internally and point out the things that you do wrong and be able to vocalize them too, because you can know you jacked up and never say nothing and never change your ways,
Right.
but until you can vocalize it and take some accountability, it can't be taught.
Right. I agree. I do agree. Some things can and some things can't.
Yes.
But yeah, I agree. And what I was going to just add to that is like experience is the best teacher.
Yes.
That dark night of the soul, where you feel like you are in the hole of despair. Like you said, there's got to be a better way than
It
this.
gotta be a better way
This
than this.
can't
Like,
be
this
it.
is
There's got to be
not-
more to life.
Yeah, this is not it. This is not it. Like, I need to tap into what, because I feel like everybody was put on this earth, like, you have a purpose. And I feel like if you don't fulfill this purpose, then you're going to have to come back and do it all over again in another lifetime. That's just my thought. That's how I think. And I feel like once you get it and you tap into it and you start, like, living in your purpose, that's when you start elevating. And that's when things start happening to you in a magical way.
Yeah.
And you start seeing things and, like, it's just, like, everything is working out in my favor. Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness. What's going on? Like that's, and until you get there, and I feel like it's a certain type of hurt and pain, and disgust, and that drives you into getting to the point where you just like, yeah, we're gonna figure this out.
Yeah.
I can't live like this.
Right. That part.
I feel like it's either that or you go to the extreme of maybe using substances, because a lot of people smoke and drink to numb what they're going through. I feel like we see that a whole lot within our family dynamic. We have a lot of alcoholics in our family, and I feel like a lot of it is because they don't really want to deal with their shit. And in order to not deal with your shit, what you do, you numb it. If I drink all this alcohol, I don't care of all these things I got going on, because I'm not even thinking about it, because I'm too drunk to think about it, or getting high. I don't got nothing against the smokers. I smoke too, but it's more of a relaxation thing. When you smoke to numb things, then it's a different type of story. But what y'all gotta realize is once you done being high and drunk, whatever you going through or whatever the issue is, it's still gonna be there. Whenever you get done, it's still gonna be there. So at some point you gotta wanna deal with your shit.
Yeah. Very, very true.
So, question. So, have you ever had a time when you thought that you forgave someone only to be tested and shown that you really haven't forgiven that person?
Absolutely.
Do you want to share? If you don't, that's okay too. I know that like a lot of this can be touchy, and it's
Well, what I'll say to that is when a person asks me to forgive them, it's literally one and done, right? If they repeat that offense, I feel like, okay, now you're taking me back. You are causing me to revisit that trauma.
right.
So now I'm back in that same place that I was just in when I forgave you, and I thought we reconciled it.
Right.
So I have been, sometimes those tests do come and you have to see where you're at to see if you really did do what you thought you did. And then out of sight, out of mind, you know, when you don't see that person and you don't have to have any interaction with them, you think that you may have forgiven them only to know that you haven't if they show up. Right? It could be to your own doing where, okay, I'm working on forgiving these people, right? Now, how am I going to do if I see them, if they show up? Because, see, I'm still working through it and I'm healing. I'm going to be honest with myself and say, I'm still a work in progress.
So do you think it's best to just stay away from that person until you've gotten to a point to where you're like, I don't care about what you did, I done forgave you, whatever? Or do you feel like when that wound is still in the healing process, because I really think of healing as like an actual wound, a sore, and when it's healing, if you see that person, it could be equivalent to pulling the scab off. And so now that wound is reopened and everything you ever did to me is replaying in my mind, and now I'm mad and I'm frustrated and I hate you again. So do you think it's best to just stay away from the person that wrongs you while you're healing? Or is it one of those things where it's like, okay, I might need to be around you to help me heal. Like, how do you feel about that?
For me, I need to be away from them while I'm healing,
Okay.
because if they're not going to help in the healing, where they acknowledge, which again, that's not putting the expectation on them to even recognize that they have wronged you in any way. So that goes back to me taking that accountability for myself that I'm working through, to forgive myself for what I allowed you to do. Because see, it's almost twofold in a way with how I am learning forgiveness works. It's like this didn't happen to you, it happened for you. you know
Yeah,
and I'm
that's
like
deep. That's deep.
I'm like, what the, for
Hey, that's
me?
growth. That's how you know you're growing.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that drop in your spirit, you're like, what? I don't.
Yeah.
For me, how?
Right. For this is
This
this one of
hurt.
these for my good situations that I really didn't sign up
This
for?
hurts.
I signed up for this and didn't know. So I am looking at the things that have caused me the pain. There's that purpose in the pain. So what's the lesson in it? So while I'm getting my lesson, I don't want to be around the person until that scab has completely healed and it's a scar.
I feel that.
Right.
Ooh, that's good. I feel that.
So-
I'm the same way. I don't need to be around you. I'm a in the shell type person anyway. Like I go and retreat in my shell and go into hermit mode. And if I'm feeling some type of way, I don't want to be around people anyway. So to be around a person who wronged me and like to be reminded of that, I would prefer not to.
Yeah.
I'll holler at you when I got a scar. Then we'll talk then.
You
Or
know-
I'll see you because we might not talk.
Exactly. And it to hate someone, I'm going to speak for me. To really get to a point where you hate someone, you really got to do some major damage. So to even reach the level of hatred, I got to look at myself then as to why I'm hating you. And is it really that deep? Because now we're looking at the repercussions it's going to have on myself.
Yes.
Now, forgiving someone where they betray you and then they want to bring other people into it that don't even have anything to do with it. That's where I'm like, I don't want to be around you. I don't want to see you. We don't need to have a relationship. Because this is you trying to, I don't know what you need, a community of people supporting you because you need to feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
So you need to
Yes, ma'am.
dim a light for yours to shine brighter, and you need to put these lies and things out here. Why? What's
They
the
need people
purpose
to
of
agree
that?
with them so that they can feel better about what they're doing. Like people like that, they really just. I know somebody like that. They would call 5 people on the phone and tell them what we're arguing about just so that people can agree. Like, if you know what you're talking about and you standing on business of what you said, why do you need 5 people to agree with you?
Exactly.
Do you believe you?
Right.
Like, what you trying to convince them? You trying to convince yourself? Like, what's really going on? I said what I said, and I'm standing on it. I don't
Right.
need to call and run the story about nobody else. I said what I said, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. That's some manipulative behavior
Very
too, because now you're trying to
manipulative.
manipulate other people into the situation. They got
Yeah.
nothing to do with it. Not cool.
Like, how can you feel good about yourself doing that? If I am going to reach out, I'm going to reach out to someone that's going to hold me accountable, not get on board with my mess. If I truly want to change and be a better person than what I've been, and I really want to see where I'm wrong, please tell me, because I want to correct the behaviors that have been a plague in my life, So, yeah.
Yeah. Y'all
Y'all stop getting on the phone calling up folks trying to get people to side with you when you know you wrong.
You
Just
know
stop
you're
that.
wrong. It's not okay.
Because you wouldn't like it if someone did that to you.
people like that cannot take what they dish out.
Golly.
They'll never be able to take it because they
No.
have no accountability. They don't know, like, until you can hold yourself accountable, like, you definitely not holding nobody else accountable. I don't need nobody around me that can't hold me accountable. If I'm wrong, if I say something, if I do something, that's why I allow my kids to tell me, because that's who I'm around. My kids 24/8. They are around me the most out of anybody. So that's why it's okay for them to tell me, like, yeah, you shouldn't have did that. Like, that wasn't okay. My daughter then came to me and was like, yeah, you should probably call him back and apologize. I'm like, you think I should apologize for real? Yeah, you was wrong in this situation. That's on you. You should.
Yeah.
I can't tell you to do it, but like, you ask for my opinion, because I will ask her. And she like, yeah, you wrong. I was like, okay.
That's awesome.
I've actually called people back and apologized. I ain't say that my daughter told me to do it. I just call back and be like, you know what, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I think about it at first. I don't do it just because she said it, but I have to reflect. I'm like, this is a 16, 17-year-old girl with lots of emotional intelligence that I did not have at that age. So I'm like, she right. I asked her because I thought I was wrong. So she's right. So I done call people back like, I'm sorry. I should have never said that. Do you forgive me for saying that?
Right. That's big.
Yeah, so.
That doesn't happen enough. And that kudos to you for doing that, because people pride won't let them see they're wrong. And while they are operating in that, they are hurting people along the way when they do that. So to acknowledge that, hey, you know what, I wasn't in a good mood, or I wasn't feeling well, whatever the case, whatever that excuse is, to come back and acknowledge that and to ask for forgiveness, that is a huge step, and that's very commendable.
Thank you. And I'm doing that with them because those are the type of adults I want to have walking around. I need adults that are I want to raise adults that are taking accountability, that know how to apologize when they're wrong. And I think it has a lot to do with the people that I've involved myself in. Like, you was wrong. You was not going to apologize to me. A lot of people just sweep things under the rug. They just expect you to keep on going with life, and they ain't going to never apologize. They're not going to talk about how they did you wrong. And that's a lot where their unforgiveness comes from. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Healing Version podcast on forgiveness. I know I promised you guys a part 3 next week, but guess what? I gave it to y'all today. I just went ahead and gave y'all part 2 as 2 and 3. This is it on forgiveness for now. I can talk about forgiveness for days. Like, I can make a series on forgiveness. Who knows? I might do that in the future. But again, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Shout out to my cousin Shey. Thank you so much for recording this episode with me. I love you. It meant so much to me that you reached out and wanted to do this with me. I look forward to speaking with you on future episodes. And I thank y'all for being here and listening. Remember, follow the Healing Version podcast on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. Make sure you're following us on Spotify and Apple. I'm trying to get monetized, y'all. Hey, send this to your cousin, your auntie, your baby mama, your baby daddy, the lady next door, the nosy lady at work to be in your business. Send this to everybody. Tell them to follow the Healing Version podcast on all podcast platforms, but more specifically Spotify. Follow Spotify and follow the Apple Podcast app. I'm trying to get monetized, y'all. I'm trying to make some money. I'm bringing y'all some good content. Am I not bringing y'all good content? But anyway, make sure y'all follow me. Y'all can always email me, hit me up with questions, or if y'all want to do What Would Miss Debo Do, I'll be bringing that back next week. Send me y'all scenarios or whatever y'all got going on in y'all life. Y'all be having some crazy stuff going on, but I ain't gonna judge you. I ain't judge you. I'm just gonna tell you what I do. But anyway, you can send that stuff to the Healing Version at gmail.com. And again, I thank you guys for being here. I hope you have a wonderful Thursday and an awesome weekend. Until next time, peace.